And you had to bring it.
Exactly.
You really had to bring it. If you didn't bring it, they knew.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you'd get thrown off the stage. Apollo Theater, don't go there half-stepping. You get knocked out. You know what I'm saying?
You had to be sharp, right? You had to show up with everything you had. If you didn't, they'd know. That's how it was at the Apollo Theater. You couldn't fake it if you tried. You'd get booed off stage fast. That's the kind of pressure performers like Walter Scott faced back in the day. Walter's funeral hit hard. It reminded people of something real. Some folks give the world everything and still they fade away quietly like no one was watching. That's what happened with Walter Scott. He wasn't just a singer, he was a voice. One of the original members of the Whispers. But when Walter passed in 2022 after a quiet battle with cancer, it felt like the world barely noticed. Why is it that legends like him only get the love they truly deserve once they're gone? Here's where it gets deep. Once that casket closed, people finally started saying all the things they held in for years. It was raw, emotional, and honest. Walter and his twin brother Wallace Scotty Scott were born in Fort Worth, Texas in 1943. From the beginning, they were more than brothers, they were inseparable. Their voices blended like magic, as if they'd been singing since birth. They didn't have much growing up, but they had each other and they had music. In the early 1960s, they moved to Los Angeles and joined a group of guys who would become the Whispers with Marcus Hudson, Nicholas Caldwell, and Gordy Harmon. They started small, playing talent shows, performing at local spots, and building their name from the ground up. Walter wasn't loud or flashy, he wasn't trying to be the star. He was smooth, steady, and focused on making the group sound great. You noticed him not because he asked for attention, but because his voice made you feel something. Then came the Vietnam War. Just as the group was gaining momentum, Walter got drafted. He had to leave the music behind to serve his country. That kind of interruption could have ended everything, but not for Walter. He came back and jumped right in like he never left. The Whispers kept pushing forward, and their music took off, and The Beat Goes On in 1980 was a massive hit. Then came Rock Steady in 1987, and of course, Lady, a slow jam that still plays on Quiet Storm radio shows to this day. Walter never tried to go solo. He didn't chase fame. He was about the group, about loyalty, and about the music. In an industry where ego often takes over, that says everything about the man he was. Even after decades in the game, while fans were still enjoying those classic songs, Walter was fighting a battle in silence. He had cancer, but most people never knew. He kept it private, not out of shame, but because that's who he was. Quiet strength, humble heart. He didn't want sympathy. He just wanted peace and to keep singing as long as he could. He spent his final days surrounded by love. Meanwhile, fans were still posting old concert clips, celebrating his voice, not realizing he was slipping away. Think about that. How strong do you have to be to carry that pain and still show up with grace? When the news of his passing broke, it felt like the end of a chapter. But the real emotion came during the funeral. It was held in Northridge, California, quiet, heartfelt, and full of people who truly knew him. There were fans, family, music legends, and people whose lives were touched by the Whispers' music. This wasn't about putting on a show, it was about showing love, real love. Then came Walter's twin brother, Wallace. When he stepped up to speak, the room went silent. This wasn't just a brother giving a speech, this was a twin losing his other half. He talked about their childhood, sneaking into talent shows, singing into hairbrushes, and building the Whispers from nothing. But what hit hardest was when Wallace said, "When you lose your twin, you don't just lose a brother, you lose a part of yourself." That line broke people down. You could hear the pain in his voice, the kind of pain that doesn't go away. Then, Leaveil Degree, another longtime member of the Whispers and one of Walter's closest friends, stood up. Leaveil is usually calm, cool, and collected, but this time he was shaken. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come at first. He was holding back tears. Then, without music, without a mic, just standing in silence, he started singing a broken version of Let's Go All the Way. His voice cracked. Some notes didn't land, but that didn't matter. It was real. You could feel Walter's presence in that moment, like his spirit was still in the room. When Leaveil finished, he just stood there, and the silence said everything. People didn't clap for the performance, they clapped for Walter, for loyalty. For 50 years of music and brotherhood, that moment wasn't about a career, it was about a man who gave his life to the music and deserved every flower he was getting in that room. Let's be real, the Whispers' music still lives on. Go check any streaming platform. Millions of plays. Their songs have been sampled by some of the biggest names: Will Smith, J. Cole, you name it. Their sound shows up in movies, TV shows, R&B playlists, even TikToks. But here's the truth, the guys who made that music didn't always get paid what they deserved. For years, people have said the Whispers didn't get their fair cut, not from royalties, not from publishing rights, not from sync deals. Streaming changed everything, but not always in a good way. Most of that money goes to the labels, not the artists, especially the ones who came up before the digital age. Walter never went public about it, but those close to him say he felt it. He knew. Imagine giving your soul to music for 50 years, only to watch other people profit off your sound while you stay quiet. That's the part most fans never see, and still, Walter kept going. He kept performing, kept smiling, kept singing, because for him, it was never about the fame. It was always about the love for the music, for the fans, for the group. No chart, no record deal, no paycheck could define what Walter Scott left behind. When Questlove, one of the biggest music historians, called him the uncle whose scats could dust you, that was real. That was respect from a musician who knows greatness. When he hears it, Walter Scott wasn't just a voice in a group, he was a part of something timeless. And thanks to his brothers, his music, and his fans, his legacy will never fade. So if you've ever played a Whispers song at a family cookout, at your wedding, or just during a late-night drive, drop a comment. And if you think Walter Scott deserves his flowers, go ahead and hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe.